Melon, meloncollieflaur desu. Hello everyone, I am meloncollieflaur, and you know what today is? It's Watermelon Wednesday! SUIKA水曜日だよ. We have made it to the middle of the week, once again. Just a few more days until the weekend. Keep trying your best out there, for school, for work, for everything that you stand for. I believe in you. You're doing a great job so far. Keep it up. I'm really proud of you. おはようございます。こんにちは。こんばんは。私はメロンコリフラワーです。今日の配信はスイカゲームだよ。So, let's get started. This game keeps getting updates, and I was checking for stuff, but I didn't see anything new in terms of like the actual news from the game itself. So I'm not sure what's happening. Maybe they did overall stability, improvements to stability or something like that. Improving lag time and whatnot, making things more fluid. I could understand that, so that's kind of cool. But I hope everyone's having a nice day, nice week. Nice beginning of March. It's getting pretty warm where I live, which is not bad. I like it when it's warmer. I don't like being cold, so that's nice. Had some interesting rain though yesterday, or this morning I guess. It was kind of interesting, but I don't know. Persimmon. Persnickety. Okay, let's see. Let's help with the small ones. Over here. This is your spook. Oh, Melon, hope you're doing well today. How goes it? Yes, good. Hahaha. I'm glad. 嬉しいメロン。よかったメロン。I nabbed it. I feel really nice today. Melon bees. I feel nice. I'm doing well. I felt a little sick last time I streamed, but I feel pretty good now. I guess I had like some sort of cold or flu or something, I'm not sure. But I feel much better now. Oh, okay. Okay, so keeping the big ones on the right, small ones on the left. Ah, nice hop. Head on. Oh. I've created an arc that I don't need. I have to flatten that somehow. Terraform, I guess. Okay. Not bad. Okay. Okay, I need a cherry. I guess I need 2 cherries. Unless they nerf the cherries. Wow. Nice, nice. No! Oh well. 1792. 1792. Not bad for the first one. Yeah, first score of the day. We can only go up from here, right? Oh. Cooking corned beef right now and my freaking mouth is watering. The smell is in the whole house. Nice. I hope you have a wonderful meal. Sounds like you will enjoy it. Okay. Huh. Nice. not put it? So is there an occasion as to this particular dish today? Hmm. Nice. Okay, cherry. There we go. Nice. Melon. Okay. I'll try putting big things on the right this time. Dekkai kuramono. Migi ni. 右に合います。あります。Nice. どうしようメロン。Have you ever thought about the fact that corned beef is just pickled roast beef? It's like finding out bananas or berries. I didn't even know that, so thanks for letting me know. That's new to me. Very interesting. 面白いもの。Okay. There we go. I knew I should not have done that, but that is okay. Ah, saved. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Okay. I'm digging the animation. I'm waiting for the day you get rigged. Next thing you know, you explode in popularity. Are you sure about that? I'm not really sure how that works. I appreciate you liking what's going on, with the subtle changes and whatnot. But I'm not really sure if that's the case. sometimes people can get a full-blown new model and their popularity doesn't increase at all. Sometimes decreases, so I'm not even sure. After all, it's the character that makes the person, or I guess the person that makes the character, rather, right? So I guess it just depends. Sometimes someone with a whole lot of money who decides to... Actually, that's an interesting topic. Some people think that the key to popularity is spending a lot of money for a model when you don't really have to. It's all about preference and appearance for the most part. A lot of PNG tubers actually end up having more charm than some live 2Ders. It just depends. Or even Discord reactives. 1917. We actually did go up. Not bad. 1917. But I don't know if that'll be the case for me per se. Especially considering that I have less than 100 subscribers anyway. And a lot of times people don't really kick off anything big unless they're a bit bigger. Because then they feel like it's a wasted investment or something like that. I'm content with the way that I look. I did get... This is technically my 2.0. Even if it is still PNG. The thing about it is, you work with the limitations that you have. So like, even though I'm PNG, everything else around it is based on what I decide. Be it the broadcasting program OBS and the filters and all the other different things that you use within the actual multimedia program. I can do all sorts of things. Just based off of that. I do use the program itself for the model, but everything else around it, other than hotkeys, is through OBS for the most part. It's very useful. It's kind of like when you create a PowerPoint, right? You can get a bunch of still images or just words and whatnot, and you can add animation to them and stuff. It's kind of like that as well. Just a little messing around with settings and whatnot and getting to what you like. And then of course, personality is everything as well. Your 2.0 is floofier, but you're right, you can dump money and not get a good investment out. What I think is nice is that your setup is a whole lot cleaner than I've seen other people set up. Really? It makes me feel really nice, actually. I'm surprised to hear that, because I don't really know what I'm doing. That makes it not so different. I mean, granted, I guess I don't have a whole bunch of banners all over the place, sure. And I know why that is the case for most people. They're trying to put themselves out there, right? So, it just makes a lot of sense in that regard. Or like a lot of moving things, like upcoming things and merchandise that they sell and stuff like that. It makes a lot of sense in a way. I've seen PNG tubers just have garbled spit on their stream with a bunch of doodads on screen at once. Really? Huh. I'm glad that I do seem to have a sense of organization. Sometimes I'll find something new and I'll add something to the scene and whatnot, to the setup. And I will go from there and I think, how do I want to do things? I'm also very particular about aspect ratios. I know a lot of people play games in full screen, but interestingly enough, when I play games, I stream from one monitor, if you can believe that. So, what you guys are seeing on screen is what I'm also seeing. So I'm not looking at a secondary monitor with a clearer screen or anything like that. So if you see that myself, Melon, is on the right in the corner, I also see that as well. As in, what is obscured is also obscured for me as well. So more often than not, more than likely I won't play in full screen most of the time unless the sides of the screen is irrelevant and the main thing is in the middle. So I guess technically I could make this game full screen since the jar is in the middle, right? But I usually just try to keep the whole game on the screen. You see my background in the back there, and I'll just add whatever for the time being. Depending on the game that I play, I'll change the aspect of the game box itself. If you've ever played a game on a television, well, that's silly, but if you've ever played an older game on a newer television, you'll notice that games will stretch to fit the screen. But if you're using OBS and you use OBS as the screen itself, you can change aspect ratios all the time, fitting it to where you want it, regardless of what type of game you play. From the style of Super Nintendo, PlayStation, Dreamcast, Wii U, computer game. You could set it to 4:3, 8:5, 8:3, 8:1, 1:1, and all that type of stuff. And you can just turn what looks like a very stretched screen into a square 4x3 CRT. And it'll look a lot cleaner and a lot better because it doesn't look so stretched and weird. And I think it's nice. Aspect means a lot. But yes, clean setups are very nice to see and very nice to have. I guess the only thing I wish I did have was a little bit more charm, because I know that my charm isn't as high as it should be. You have a screen, but then the game might get stretched to be 16:9 or whatever. I remember playing my old Xbox again and I had that issue, but because it was the advent of HDTV, you could change aspect ratio. Right. Before streaming, I found it to be a little bit of a problem. I know that you can change modes and aspects and whether or not the screen is stretched or zoomed, depending on the television that you have. Melon. I use a television monitor or television screen as a monitor, which I guess isn't the best because that means that the refresh rate is going to be 60 or less than, I forget what the standard is supposed to be, like 144 or something like that, or 120, I do not remember. But I haven't used a regular computer monitor in a very long time because the last monitor I ever used was around the 4:3 aspect ratio. So the squarer monitors back in the day. Also because I don't really have any room for a horizontal or landscape monitor where I keep everything. So I have a television mounted, well, not mounted, but on a stand. And I have the HDMI basically traveling from the television to the computer. So this is what we basically see. Refresh rate can mean a lot though, especially if you're playing something like high intensive, because you might get screen tearing and buffering even though there shouldn't be buffer. Frames might become 30 FPS even though the game itself is at 60 or maybe even 120. 120 hertz. My brother has one of those Samsung QD OLED TVs and he was able to force it to go 120. Originally had it as a monitor, but having a monitor 8 feet from you is not conducive to good game. 8 feet is pretty far away, isn't it? Yeah. But then again, if the television is large, you would think that it's okay for distance. If it's a smaller television, sure. Make sure that it's closer to you. And of course, if you have a bigger screen and you're using it for a computer monitor, make sure that you set the actual resolution to, I guess, what's the standard? 1920 by 1080 or something like that, unless you're doing like 4K or something, which I'm not too sure about because I've never done 4K. Probably don't plan to in the future either. But then you change like your scaling. Scaling is important for that. Sometimes the computer will say that it recommends 150%, But 150% might be too big, so you could go for 120 or 100, and 100 might be too small. So sometimes recommended settings aren't always the best for you. Even though you usually want to go with recommendations. So submit. But it doesn't always work. Yeah, you have to put a lot of thought into setups. And 'cause I know a lot of times people want to play older games, especially now. But trying to play some of those older games on a non-4x3 or a non-CRT is going to make it stretched. Which is why widescreen, I would assume, became a thing. I'm pretty sure that the Wii was the first Nintendo system to attempt widescreen, or to have it as an option, I think. I don't know much about the other systems. Probably PlayStation 3. I never had one, so I don't know. Xbox 360 ran on HDMI, so I'm pretty sure that was fine. 1920 by 1080 is minimum of being good quality. 1440p is the standard for 2K or 4K. Okay. So question, Tizio Spook, if you don't mind me asking. How often do you watch videos or see streams where people are streaming from 1440p, or I guess 2K? And I know a lot of times the fluidness looks really nice, the fluidity looks really, really nice, but how often do you see it? And would you consider it to be affordable and standard? Well, I guess it is standard if you say that the 1440 is the standard for 2K. I'm actually kind of curious about it, because I feel like I am running on outdated things, but I'm making things work as well. For the most part. Oh. Haven't I? Ah, 1596. 1596. There are a lot of people who are very informative about computers, and it boggles my mind, to be completely honest with you, because even though I've grown up with computers for a long period of time, there are many things I still do not know in terms of optimization. Because when I used to play computer games back in the day, when I was but a seedling, I didn't know there was such thing as configuration for making something run better. I thought that if you put a CD into the computer and it ran the way that it did, it was meant to run that way. So I had no idea about optimization and what it meant. Even with all the way up to maybe Windows 7 or 8 or 10, I still had no idea about that until I realized that there were things that you needed to change in order for things to run better. My brother got a 4K monitor for like $230. You can get them as cheap as $150. It's not 2019, so you can get 2K, 4K pretty easily. Nice. So that means that people aren't scalping. Sounds good. I guess the only thing that people really are scalping or were scalping were the, if I recall correctly, it was the, like a 50 series, 5 series, 50 series, what is it called? Was it a graphics card, I think? And then apparently people realized that it wasn't as good as the 4090s or something like that, I guess. So now people are scalping 4090s and 80s because it's not as good as the 50, or because the 50's not as good, which is very odd when you think about it. It's a very confusing thing to me. That's why the whole like PC Master Race thing was very, very confusing to me. Because apparently it does come with its quirks, and it's things that people don't talk about. But people still say PC Master Race regardless. Right now, the new kid on the block is QD OLED, which is to have the benefit of turning off individual pixels like OLED, without the possibility of burn-in and cheaper to produce than micro LED. I'm surprised that TVs still have burn-in in them. I know that there are games or systems that have the burn-in reduction option on their systems, but I didn't know that burn-in was still a thing. Heck, in fact, last time I've seen burn-in was on Game Boy Advance SP when I left the game on for too long. So I kind of get it. I just didn't expect it to still be a thing in current year. But I kind of wonder. I wonder how much better things would be if I did end up getting a, like you said, 1440p, getting like for a 2K monitor and whatnot. As long as it's like an energy saver type, I not put it, and I don't think it's a bad idea. As long as it still has the standard like backs where it has at least 4 HDMI cables or 4 HDMI inputs, I guess, and the AVI or AV rather, I guess it's called. LEDs don't burn in, but OLED have an organic layer that can cause burn-in. So QD LED is gonna probably replace QD OLED as the gold standard. I see. Okay. Very knowledgeable, very informative. I really appreciate it. Arigatou gozaimasu. Arigatou gozaimasu. I like learning about stuff like this. It's really cool. I feel like people should share knowledge like this more often instead of beating each other over the head with master race opinions stuff with games and whatnot, or standardizations, because it really helps old melons like myself when trying to understand what's going on. Also about the graphics cards, yeah, the 50 series has shown to be absolute failures. The issue is the sudden push for AI that's beneficial for developers. For us Joe Schmo users, it's not too good. I wonder why the developers then think that it's better for them then. Other than, I guess, it makes it easier for them to make things, maybe? I'm not entirely sure. That's why people are complaining about games being so resource intensive, even on powerful hardware requiring generated frames to run. That is something I will never understand. I never got that at all. Actually, as of late, I've been seeing some interesting things. As I've learned, a lot of people have gotten like newer computer rigs and stuff, and better like processors and everything straight out the gate. So it's very odd to me that when they start running games like Monster Hunter Wilds, that it feels like their computer is inadequate. But I've come to learn that it's not the computer at all. It's the optimization of the games, which apparently has become a pretty common thing now. And I'm not entirely sure why. I can't tell if developers want people to actually buy their game, or if they feel like optimization would be a waste of time. My thought process is, if your computer is running it well, shouldn't that mean that who you're selling it to, it should run just fine as well? But if you are, I guess, developing a game on a computer that is top of the line, that no one else would have, and then you send that game out, even with the requirements saying that, you know, it is what it is, and it doesn't run smoothly, I feel like it's kind of odd that you wouldn't think to test it on like a not as beefy computer to make sure that it will run right, even though you can take off the, like, what is it called, the epic or ultra quality, and put it down to, like, I guess normal, if not just lowest, I guess. I think it's very important to test your game. I think it would be better if people tested their games on a lower end computer and went up. Wouldn't that make more sense? Or do people not do that? Or do people actually do that and I just don't know? It just seems like it would make more sense to do it that way. Just like how when people develop games on a computer, but they're trying to make it work for, or I guess developer toolkits and whatnot, for consoles. And they're trying to make the games for those consoles so that it runs smoothly for them. But even now, it seems like games don't run very smoothly. We notice now more than ever that games end up running not at stable frames. And we more than likely demand 60 FPS at all times now. Even though there was a time where constant 30 frames was okay. Because it was constant and it wasn't always changing. Now it seems like maintaining 60 is very difficult. It's better for them because you can be sloppy and make an unoptimized product. The graphics card can just make up frames and make it run faster. A big push for this AI stuff. And Nanite is NVIDIA and Epic with the Unreal Engine, making it where the game is almost entirely unoptimized, with AI picking up the slack. But in order to run the AI, wouldn't it require more graphical power or CPU? Since it's making it obtain something that it doesn't already have or show? That's how that works, right? Or am I misunderstanding? It just seems kind of odd to me. Because I think people will say that they'll run a program or two, and suddenly it's using up 100% of their memory, or their CPU is at like 80, or the GPU is at like 90, and stuff like that. What you're asking for does make sense, and that's usually how it was done. It's tested with the minimum specified requirements. Okay, so that is, I guess, how it was, and then it changed, maybe? And again, I guess you wouldn't expect someone to code starting with like a Windows 95 computer and work your way up, considering that there have been easier means of coding nowadays so that you wouldn't end up going so far back to the archaic style or the obsolete style. Even though having a fallback is actually pretty useful. At least one fallback. Always a plan B to work your way up, right? Very interesting. I mean, we are consumers of games, so we do demand better. That's probably also because games cost a lot. So even if people release sloppy games, they still end up being the same price as back in the day. I guess when the Wii was selling games for $50, Wii was selling games for $60. I guess PlayStation was selling games for $70. Also, the AI frame gen would take a lot of processing power, but it's based on the method you go to generate frames. It's basically breaking the image up into a bunch of squares, and each square generates just a few pixels. Okay. And aren't we now hitting the standard of voxels, or is that still a niche thing? My first time hearing about or seeing voxels maybe was when people were doing the, I think the PlayStation like Dreams collection thing, I think it was called. Yeah, so it breaks it up in smaller pieces, which makes it easier to generate compared to hard rendering of the game world. I see. I feel like there's always going to be pop-in at some point though, since I know a lot of games will want to try to load in the whole thing, but if you're gonna have a game that's cutscene intensive, it might be better to either do the pop-in route or have smaller rooms, so that every time you go through the door, it's not loading as much stuff, and it makes for a smoother experience, I guess. But like I said, I'm not really sure how all of this works. 1556. 1556. But I am definitely not a game developer of any type. I'm only creative in, I guess, my OBS setup and how I present myself, which I'm really happy about. I guess I can only go up from there. I am trying to stream more and do better about things. But yeah, it's an interesting time that we live in. It's just very, very, very odd as well. As a consumer, I guess. Huh. They do that, but the issue is they tag on a bunch of features that aren't needed or could be done simpler. For instance, ray tracing has been in old games before. It was baked in, meaning it's static. Some old games did this, and baked in lighting is cheap. But you have games with dynamic ray tracing that don't need it. Ah, I see. As in, dynamic ray tracing was becoming the standard, but not every game needed it, but it was just there. I see. Interesting. Interesting. Well, my hat goes off. You know I don't wear a hat. My hat goes off to the indie developers who are doing their best to make games enjoyable and make a product that they would enjoy themselves. I think that's another thing too. A developer more than likely should ask themselves, would I put a lot of hours into this game that I made? Would I go back to it? It's kind of like making a video, really. If by the time I finish making this video and I send it out, can I rewatch this video and enjoy it still? And if the answer is yes, you probably made a good video or a decent video that everyone will enjoy. But if you feel like you couldn't go back to rewatch your video, then chances are others won't either. Dynamic ray tracing is only good in games with destructible environments. You don't need to render a light source that could move, but never does. Thus the extra processing power goes into it might move. Even if it's placed in a location, the dev would never move the dynamic light. I see. Huh. Very, very interesting. Okay. Huh. But if I ever wanted people to pay me for things, I want to make sure that I'm providing a great experience. I don't like letting people down. I don't want to let people down. So I would rather, if anyone spends money on me at all, that it means that they are satisfied with how I'm doing things, or they really enjoy what I'm doing. It's why I avoid Unreal Engine games now, because my 4060 has chugged on indie Unreal Engine games, and I had to have frame gen going. I see. Huh. One of my friends was having an issue with Steam in general. Steam and or Unity. Because sometimes when they're running games, because they're also a VTuber, sometimes they'll run games, but their VTuber program will crash every so often. And they couldn't figure out if it was the actual program itself, or if it was like Steam, since it runs through Steam, or if it was like Unity, like a whole bunch of different things. They said that everything was fine up until like the end of last year though. And so I guess by December things started getting weird. Apparently they did a lot of troubleshooting with like a friend, seeing whether or not it was hardware issues. So they remedied some of those, but they're still having some of the same issues. So you could also say that it probably is the program, but then they would try to go to like a forum or like a server to see if people had the same frequently asked questions. But sometimes, even within that area, people will ask questions, and their questions either don't get looked at or they don't get answered. And the sad part about that is, for people who use Live 2D, as far as I know, Live 2D only is used through, I think what's called VTube Studio. So if VTube Studio gets bad or it doesn't receive any more updates and things start going downhill, which I do think it is running through Unity, then Live 2Ders won't have a way to actually run their models unless they go 3D, because 3D has multiple different programs that they can use. Melon. Me on the other hand, I use like a PNG type program, and there are many of those as well. There are at least 3 of those. There's at least 3 of those. There's at least 2 or 3 for 3D, and you could also do VR type stuff. But I think as far as Live 2D goes, there's only one thing. I'm almost positive. I could be wrong, but I'm almost positive. It's kind of scary for VTubers. Because if you think running a game is bad, or it makes your computer chug, try running a game while running like the software for a model, which is also running through a different component. Like I said, the program itself, but then it's also running through like Steam or something. So that's already processing power, be it GPU or CPU. Then, not only that, but you have to run OBS. And OBS has become the standard for streaming. I think it used to be XSplit for a while as well, but now it's mostly OBS, as far as I know. So you're running, I think, typically most VTubers run at least, probably 5 things. So model program, OBS, game, oh, that's 3. Probably some other, maybe Discord. I think a lot of people use Discord, right? So 4. And probably some other program. And then, of course, more than likely they're running, what's it called? A browser as well. So 5. And you know browsers take up a lot, because even if you have maybe 3 tabs open, if you check your taskbar, or your task manager, it'll say, in parentheses, the number of whatever it's using, even though you only have 3 tabs open, because it's also using extensions. At moment, VTubing is your income source and your main software dies. That's terrifying. Believe it or not, Tiziasfoot? Yeah, no. VTubers are, we are at the mercy of the processor, the computer. We practically are running on the console. This is what we are. If it goes down, we aren't here. It's that's one way to think about, what if you decided to, and this is probably weird, and I know people have thought about it, but people do this thing where it's like, what if you decide that you want to transplant your brain to a robot, right? Technically, you're still you, because it's your brain. However, your body is different. So this also means that even though it's not as organic, you still have to rely on maintenance and repairs. And what if you can't do them yourself? Then you are also stuck there. So it's the same ordeal. You're at a standstill. So now you're living, your brain is still there, but you aren't really moving. Because you can't do anything about it. OBS is okay as a software as it's open source, and since literally everyone and their dog uses OBS, niche issues get reported relatively quickly. The GPU's behaving weirdly is like some black magic stuff. I had my SSD get corrupted and I lost a bunch of work. But I did a bunch of tests and went deep to test it, and it was completely fine. It's like it was hit by a stray cosmic ray and just corrupted everything. Exactly. How do you ever know? what's actually going on. It's like the program should be fine, the hardware should be fine. Did the update do it? So you roll back and you realize you're still having the same issue, so it wasn't the update. So there's something else that's colliding with it. Did you accidentally download a vast or something while doing a thing? Did you accidentally download malware with what's supposed to be a safe program or document from a magnet or a trusted GitHub source? Stuff like that. And then you realize over time, if you leave your computer on for a bit, you notice that things start closing out on their own, or like crash reports happen. And then the more you keep trying to open those back up, you get a blue screen. And so it forces a restart. It's very peculiar and scary. Computers are just weird. Yeah. And when you don't have the answer and no one can answer for you, it gets a little frustrating and scary as well. Because what are you supposed to do? You ask for help, but then the people who are kind of specialized in it, or even the developers, don't know how to help you. It basically becomes insulin. Something that diabetics need. Well, mostly, I think. 2090, the highest score so far. You send QG. Well, I guess also some VTubers use a webcam, so that's also another program too. Others use like an iPhone or something as well. So it still has to send data to the computer. So you wouldn't believe how many different programs that VTubers actually use just to basically be normal on screen. I wouldn't be surprised if more people actually go PNG within the year. Not because of finances, but because of problematic program stuff. Remember, you can be an entertainer just based on how you are or what you're trying to convey. Some of that extra stuff is really fun though, and it really does help to be able to show your movement, be able to move around, dance around, do VR stuff, blink without auto blinking and stuff like that. But then you could say, well, Melon, just become an IRL streamer. Clearly. Let's be honest, a Melon dog with RTX on doesn't really fit now, does it? But some people actually do. Some people actually do turn into IRL streamers sometimes. They just wear a mask over their face, over their mouth, I guess. Sometimes it works. But that's usually after those YouTubers have also gained a following. A large one at that. That way there's no true fallback. Because you're still gonna like the person for who they are. Even though you're like, well, I solely wanted to watch VTubers. But it's pretty clear that you did like that particular VTuber. Because you're not gonna like every VTuber just like you're not gonna like every person. It's based on how they present themselves and their attitude and stuff as well. Their views on things. Heck, a famous voice actor can go from beloved to absolute hated from something slightly political, if not political. And it can taint the reputation of the character that they were VAing as well. And I've seen a few of that, and it's very interesting. It's very sad, but it's very interesting. Obviously I will not name drop any, but I have seen some of it. Because people would be like, I can't believe so-and-so is supporting this. the character that is voiced by them does not deserve to be voiced by them due to these views or something like that, and it gets really weird. It's kind of one of those situations where it's like people say never meet your heroes or something like that, or separate the art from the artist, because it seems like every time you find something beloved art-wise or VA-wise, you learn that they've ended up being caught up in something that's very yabai, or extremely bad. And it's kind of hard to backpedal from allegations, even if the allegations are false. It's scary. A lot of things are scary. So yeah, everything's all based on how you present yourself, basically. Anyone can become a content creator. I can't say everyone can become a streamer, because sometimes people don't have the longevity, the endurance and whatnot, I not put it, to do so. But some people might be better at just creating videos and funny videos or art and turn those into videos. Some people are better at streaming because they're not so great at editing, or don't want to edit like a 3-hour, 4-hour video and turn it into like a 10-minute, 20-minute video or 5-minute video. I hate having a VTuber with a cute design with the attitude of a dump truck. I remember seeing one where someone made fan art before and she blasted it. It makes me feel bad. Now, when you say attitude of a dump truck, because that can go two ways, forgive me. But when you say dump truck, do you mean like, as in they have a trashy attitude, or do you mean that they have a dumpy? Now, obviously, I think you do mean the former, but since you did say dump truck, that was my initial thought. But yeah, I think I do know what you mean. Sometimes ego can really play a huge part. You can see like how VTuber was first year versus how VTuber is third year, to see whether or not there's a drastic change and whether or not it's good or bad. Sometimes really quiet streamers become more outlandish, but they're still likable. Some are really quiet, but then they become super like unhinged, I guess, in the craziest of ways. And then sometimes they'll wonder why they get backlash. They'll say, why are people picking on me? And it's like, well, have you seen some of your videos? Have you seen the things that have you heard the things that you've said on your videos? People are going with what you've been saying, and suddenly you're not liking the allegations of what's going on. But it's pretty clear from the things that you've said that this is what's happening. Why are you surprised though? Why are you getting angry about it? It's like, you've done this to yourself. So hello, Dibs. Melon, hope you're doing well. I'm clipping that. What, the dump truck thing? You said it though. I was just trying to make it clear. I thought it was funny. I've been around, kinda sorta. But yeah, it's just like with anyone. Some people actually see VTubing as hiding themselves. Yeah, I know that was a huge take for a long period of time. Why is it that these streamers are becoming anime? Why are they hiding behind an image? And it's like, a VA doesn't hide behind an image. A VA is doing VA. The person is playing the character, or they wanted a character to represent themselves. They're not hiding behind anything. And all you're going to do anyway, really, is bash on them for their in real life looks as well. So does it really matter at that point? It's scary. It's very scary. Yeah, but you said it in a funny way? Oh, I see. Well, I'm glad I'm entertaining about it. Oh, I appreciate it. You should post it in my Instagram so that I can see it, because it's the only thing that I use for social media. Clips are weird. I wish that they were easier to use. But they are useful. They do make for great shorts if they're done well. Well, not if they're done well. I mean, clips go to 1 minute anyway. But like, you can't just take a clip and like you make it and you can't just download it. Well, I guess you could if you had maybe YouTube Premium, which is something I don't have. I'm not sure how that works actually, but you know. But since we're on the topic of like how someone can have a very cute model and then have a very like not so great attitude, there's also a lot of underrated VTubers too that you can tell that put a lot of effort into their model and their personality, but a lot of people won't give them the time of day. More than likely because maybe the voice doesn't match what they see on screen. Senhyaku Kujuyon. I'll do one more. And I can understand not vibing like with what's going on, so that's normal. We are who we are. We like what we like. But it's very common as well. I know a lot of times people would usually say, or at least you are well aware, and no, I don't like to get political, so I'm not going to say that this is political specifically, but I do want to say that a lot of times people will say that in real life, the world is male dominated, right? But funnily enough, on the internet world, in the virtual streaming world, the females tend to dominate that. So people on the opposite spectrum end up feeling the backlash on both sides. So for example, if you'll notice just from statistics, usually a lot of female VTubers usually reign against male VTubers. So a lot of male VTubers wonder why they're not getting a lot of the attention that, you know, they work hard for. And you will question many things like, is it because of the outfit? Is it because of assets? What's going on? And much like in real life, when it comes to why is it that women don't get the same, like, why the wages seem like they don't get paid as much as men, which I could assume that this is probably still a thing, just probably not as apparent as it used to be. Stuff like that. Once again, I don't want to talk too much about it, but it seems like it's kind of like that in a way. But as I've said before, when it comes to this, I say just keep being you. You're not gonna, obviously, if this is the case, you're not really gonna jump in popularity immediately because, you know, I know that people like certainty. So if they find a VTuber who is female and they're actually female in real life, it's like, oh my goodness, you're actually real. Versus like, I guess, someone who is female presenting but they are actually male, or they say that they are male but they're definitely using a female model because they want to, which there's nothing wrong with. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Once again, you're playing a character. It's like VAing. It's not really a huge issue, but a lot of people have problems with it, and I think I know the main reason why. It's no secret, really. But if you notice, if you have someone with a model that is somewhat sexy, right? Let's be honest here. Let's be honest here. It's drawn that way. It was drawn that way. It was commissioned that way. This was done intentionally, right? This means that that the model that was made this way is trying to get specific attention of a type. And if this is the case, and it is female presenting, right? This usually means that this is going to draw in certain types of people who really, really like the way that they look. And if they feel a certain way about it, but it doesn't match the voice, then they get a little angry because of how they feel. And that's as far as I'll go with that. If you get my drift. So people tend to get a little angry about that sort of thing. If it gets that way. It's very interesting observing a lot of things like that though. And sometimes people will skirt the line. Sometimes people will even get banned because they got a little too far, or they went a little too far. And my first thought is, oh, I really wish they didn't do that because they spent a lot of money on that. They spent a lot of money doing that. As if they didn't read the TOS of the platforms. They spent a lot of money getting that done. Only for them to get banned and not realize that it was very yabai to do. You can have fantastic designs though, but you really have to be careful if you're trying to go for something that's a little lewd or sexy or something like that. Eroge. You have to be very careful about that. But hats off to a fantastic personality because I feel like that is needed most. That is what keeps people coming back. Heck, I think that's what keeps you guys coming back to me anyway. I don't think I'm anything special, but I don't think I'm like really ticking people off either. Right? I'm just playing fruit game. For today anyway. And I like talking to you guys. It's really fun. I learn like new things all the time when you guys actually stop by and chat with me. I know that people like to have me on in the background because, you know, you make me angry all the time, Melon. Don't worry. I'm sorry. I know my gameplay is inadequate. I don't mean for it to be a very terrible bad experience. I'm doing my best, I promise. Please don't leave. I really appreciate you guys. Nice. But yeah, from like graphics talk, computer talk, VTubing. These are the recent things that I've looked into. Crying Melon is the best. You like to see me crying. You like it when I'm sad. Well, I am meloncollieflaur after all. It makes the most sense, does it not? It's actually my brand. So it's not surprising. Notice that I'll get sad and happy, but I don't get angry. It's not really in me. I don't really get angry. I can be disappointed, sure. I can be unamused and whatnot, but I don't really get angry. But I do get sad. I am meloncollieflaur after all. But you know, that's how it is. This is another reason why a lot of people see that a lot of charm in PNG tubers as well. You don't necessarily have to move around a whole lot. It does add to the experience. But sometimes being subtle on screen with slight changes does catch people's attention and it becomes really cute. It's why every VTuber has expressions, no matter if you are 2D, 3D, or 2.5D. The expressions are what also give you character, believe it or not. Persimmon. Okay. Cherry grape. Okay. And then... Oh. It's a little further to the left. Do you think 40 VTubers will arrive at some point? That depends. Because... wasn't there a thing that was being worked on recently where people were trying to bring a 4D experience to people through television or something like that? I.e. smell-o-vision. The thing that was being worked on for ages a long time ago for certain movies as well. On like, I guess, scratch and sniff tickets or stickers or something. If that becomes a thing, just see a spook. 100%. That's when people are gonna start looking into the VTuber bathwater stuff again. Or what's called pheromone maxing, and I don't think that's okay. That's gonna get really weird. Then people will start selling perfume of their feet or something, and it'll get really, really weird. So the answer to your question is yes, absolutely. That will definitely happen. I'm not sure when it will happen, but that will definitely happen, absolutely, because I think people want that. But I don't think that's something that I would do myself, even though I guess that would be perfect for me. I'm a melon after all. Who doesn't like the smell of a fruit? But let's be honest here. You could probably find any generic fruit out there, any generic melon out there, and I could just say, yep, that's me, that's my smell. But I don't like lying to people in that regard, right? Even though I guess it wouldn't really be a lie, it would just be a bit, right? It's kind of like when you buy certain candles. There are certain places that specialize in certain types of candles, certain types of smells of candles. From rainwater to bacon to birthday cake to, I don't know, cucumber, pickle, you know, anything really. But still, I don't think I would get that weird like that. It's just not really in my personality. I don't really see it. But yes, that could totally be a thing. We do like to push the envelope and see how high we can possibly go. The real question though is, how much more processing would that put on the computers? Would 4D make it even more insane? Oh, here's another tidbit too. Just yes, food. Believe it or not, out of PNG tuber, live 2D VTubers, and 3D VTubers, or at least those who use VR chat, for the most part, live 2D costs the most. You would think, Melon, why wouldn't 3D cost more? 3D doesn't cost as much because it's like when you create 3D models. Once you have the model, you can make it move any type of way. Live 2D is limited and specific. It's multiple layers. It's lots of layers. So it costs more. And more than likely you'll be charged by the layer. So this is more than likely why you would probably see more PNG tubers or 3D, especially furry wise. You're gonna see more 3D furry VTubers than furry live 2D. They're all really great though. When Smell-O-Vision comes out, some foul VTuber is gonna say, alright everybody, open wide, and the smell module attached to everyone's monitor spews out the most rancid, acrid scent known to man. It's not impossible, and it's not as heinous as it may seem. This definitely sounds believable and possible. It's not my cup of tea, but it's definitely something that will happen. So yeah, I believe so. Because the weirder it is, the more than likely it will happen. Yeah. Sen hapyaku 91. Reading numbers is so hard for me, Japanese wise. I have to practice more. Not bad scores today for the most part, I guess. But I really enjoyed the talk today. It got very interesting. I hope I wasn't weird in anything that I talked about. I hope I gave you some insight on certain things if you didn't know anything. And I'm glad that I learned a few things as well about processing and monitors and standard and stuff. Yeah, Live 2D is expensive because the rigging process is a nightmare. I've played with rigging animations for wallpaper engine, but you usually have to have the character cut up in layers, like a paper mache puppet. It's not hard. Right. Literally like a puppet. It's tedious, yeah. Everything's layers. So yeah, that's why it costs a lot. And as you know, with 3D models, like said before, once it's put together, you can just make the things move based on motion tracking and whatnot. With live 2D, more than likely you're using a webcam, and you're mostly making it move through, like with your face recognition. Some people do use hand tracking as well, which is very interesting. I'm not sure how that works though. But people get very creative as a VTuber. I think there's been like a stop motion one as well that I recently seen videos about. That definitely took a lot of effort, because everyone knows that it takes forever to get stop motion perfect. So I commend them, because that's really, really cool. Very, very creative. The sky's the limit, guys. Continue being creative, and don't let anyone stop you, because the only thing that can truly stop you is the processing power of the computer. At any rate though, mite kurete arigato, kite kurete arigato. Thank you for watching, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this. This was really fun. Once again, next time I stream, I will probably stream Super Paper Mario. And if I don't, and we're back to Wednesday, then we're back to SUIKA game. Was it a good one? I'm glad. I went a little over today, but I also started kind of late. I really appreciate it. Thank you for stopping by, TCS Food. Arigato, Melon. But at any rate, I am meloncollieflaur, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye bye. Oats Melon.